Welcome to episode 33 of the Creative Train podcast. When I first started making videos for my YouTube channel, the motivation was partly to alleviate some COVID lockdown boredom on my part, but also to be able to share my thoughts on creativity and teaching methods, and hopefully be able to inspire somebody to reach out and try something new during that awkward time. For this episode, I'm going to go back to the inspiration behind just the third video I made, and it's called How to Play Like You. It was mostly about guitar technique and music theory, but today I'm going to revisit some of those points in a way that can apply to any creative endeavor, and I'm going to call this episode Developing Your Unique Voice. Here comes the choo-choo. All aboard? So in calling this episode Developing Your Unique Voice, I'm getting to the point that I think most people realize that a voice is not exclusively in reference to your speaking or singing voice, but your outward expression to the world at large. And this can range from how you dress to the songs you write or the foods you cook, and the list goes on. You get what I mean. I've been teaching music for over 30 years now, and it's darn near impossible to just turn off that part of myself when I'm not at work, so to speak. And it's all in an honest desire to help and inspire, not even exclusively in an artistic manner, but just to show folks that sometimes thinking differently can unlock and unblock so many things that we've resigned ourselves or think that we'll never be able to overcome or get past. And I'm not the type just to go from situation to situation telling people they need to listen to me in some kind of arrogant or preachy way. I'm just a guy that likes to help whenever I see a chance to do so, and I can't really shut that off. You know, when it's like, have you ever come home from work and then the phone rings and you answer the phone like you're still at work? Yeah, I haven't done that either. That's what I'm talking about. I can't shut that part of me off. So let's dig right in. I'm not going to tell you my life story about how I did this and did that in my artistic or teaching career. I'm just going to jump right to the point, and that is, how do you discover and develop your unique form of expression? Obviously, it starts with having some skills. Let's say you're a painter, and I am certainly not that, but what I'm going to talk about can easily apply to all forms of creative expression. Whether you are totally new to painting or you're a seasoned artist, you've developed some essential skills like brush technique, color blending, light and shading, and perspective, those things. And how you learn these things at this point is mostly unimportant. But in learning those skills, you also learn the bounds of those things, meaning how much water can be added to acrylic paint before it's too diluted to use. How much paint can be loaded onto a liner brush before it makes sloppy lines? How tight can you stretch canvas before it tears or warps the frame? All these things and more have been learned by doing the thing, as I like to say. And maybe you've ruined a few things along the way, but you learned from it, and hopefully never have to repeat that mistake before the lesson actually sinks in. Have you ever found yourself working outside of a prescribed technique or approach and found that your innovation works better for you? Or maybe you pushed that technique to see if you could modify it to satisfy your curiosity. Again, maybe you ruined some stuff in the process, but the important part is that you tried. You not only had the confidence, but the audacity to challenge what some would see as a standard, a tradition. And this is where the pathway to finding and then developing your unique voice begins. For the creators who never challenge those established means and methods and metrics, their work ends up being almost, if not completely indecipherable from the masses. Meaning, let's say your still life with fruit bowl ends up looking unsurprisingly similar to everybody else's. And for some, this is a huge moment of satisfaction and accomplishment when they see that their work looks to be on par and not beginnerish or amateurish. And kudos to anyone who has felt that way. That's a big deal to find yourself in that moment. But, and it's a big but, as that feeling of satisfaction sets in, there also becomes the danger of your groove becoming a rut. Take a walk around any art in the park or crafter's bazaar type event. And do you notice the themes? Many play it terribly safe by also noticing those themes and burrowing their minds into that not-so-creative hole in an effort to be palatable or pleasing to the public's eye. But what they don't notice is that that very same eye they are trying to capture has been numbed by the sameness of what is on display around them. So what does an artist do to stand out? First, I believe it starts with confidence, and not just technical confidence, but more the confidence to push yourself out of the milieu you found yourself in when you found that first creative satisfaction, and see what your mind and heart can conjure using those skills that got you to that art show in the first place. As a songwriter, there's two incredibly important questions I learned to ask myself during the creation of each new piece. One is, what do I have? Two is, what's different? And that can lead to some interesting contrasting melodies, dynamics or rhyme scheme or instrumentation. The list can go on, but suffice it to say that our painter in question has to ask that of themselves as well. So does the chef, the poet, the knitter, the dancer, and especially the teacher-educator who can say to themselves, how can I bring something different to this situation? And this ties into a point that I made some time ago about creative thinking being able to help us successfully navigate even the most mundane of daily routines, from making a shopping list to even organizing your pantry. And it comes down to asking yourself some pretty tough questions about your creative expressions. If you viewed your work among that of your peers, what would draw you to your work and make you choose to spend your money on it? For those creators and artists who are only in it for the joy and expression and have no desire to sell their art, all the power to you. You make the world a better place to be in. But part of the Creative Train mandate is to help people to believe in themselves and their skills, and to know that regular people can make money in this industry. Regular folks like myself and all the other guests I've had to date are either supplementing their income or making their entire living working in the arts. So for those who want to push the bounds of their skill, imagination, and even see if they can make a few bucks along the way, remember those two incredibly important questions. What do I have, and what's different? So go grab your box of paints and brushes. Get your guitar, sit down at the piano, put on your dancing shoes or go to the kitchen, and push the limits of what you can do into the realm of what you want to do. I believe that most artists and creators can see where the changes can or need to be made in their approach and execution of their art. So these first important steps in developing your unique voice has nothing to do with comparing yourself to others. It has every single thing to do with comparing yourself to your ideals, comparing what you create with what you would like to create, allowing that dreamy inspiration that you have of what you want your art to be known for. Allow that to become the filter through which you choose to express yourself. Don't look at it as a maybe one day I'll be confident enough to do this. Do it for the next thing that you work on. Remember, you only have to compare yourself with yourself, your ideals, your highest motivation. That's your comparison. You just have to acknowledge it and then go do it. Go ahead, wreck a few things along the way, but you will emerge from that process with more skill, understanding, and inspiration than the person you were before you tried. I think you know what to do. There's your pep talk. Now go get to work. How many amazing pieces of art, amazing songs, pieces of architecture or jewelry were never created because someone didn't have the confidence to reach outside of their box. So it comes down to holding yourself accountable to yourself and your highest ideals. That is how you start to develop your own unique voice. I don't have a silver bullet that can slay the self-doubt monster, but what I can offer is some insight into how you have to start each new project, each new assignment, each new song or piece with confidence. Remember who you're accountable to. It's only you.